has significant implications for the formation of leadership. What follows then is meant to provide input for denominational bodies and theological schools who are thinking about leadership formation. But we also need to recognize that, while leaders are taught and mentored and guided, emerging leaders also need to take personal responsibility for their own formation. They cannot be passive. They need to be intentional and self-directed. These emerging leaders will recognize where there are gaps, perhaps in their own formation or in the curriculum of the theological school in which they are enrolled, and they will find what they need wherever it can be found, in an online program from another school or through a short-term continuing education program or through a field experience. Thus, what follows also provides a taxonomy for emerging leaders, asking them to consider, if these are the times in which we live, what are the capacities and dispositions that I need to be cultivating? Further, a congregation might ask a similar question. An elders' board might work with the pastoral staff to ask if the cohort of pastoral and lay leaders has the requisite capacities and, if not, whether these will be found through training current staff or hiring someone who brings that capacity to the leadership team. The primary focus of this book is the church in such places as North America, Australia, and New Zealand, those cultures and societies that are in the midst of the shift to a secular society, on the assumption that most of Europe has already made the shift. Much of what I offer here will no doubt be of value to the leadership for the church in other contexts and settings, from Hong Kong and Singapore to Latin America and Africa. But while there are indeed universals, church leaders in each social and cultural context need to ask, for their time and for their place, what it means to provide leadership in their context, even though, of course, we can and must learn from and with one another. In this case, I am asking, what does it mean to provide leadership for the church in an increasingly secular context? Part 1. Reading and Understanding the Times. 1. Secularity. An interdisciplinary consideration. I grew up in Latin America as the child of missionary parents. Every 5 years we would take a year back in Canada for what was then called furlough, a time to reconnect with supporting churches. That meant living for that year in Belleville, Ontario, near my grandmother. There we would attend the Alliance Tabernacle, my mother's home church. Since then, that church building has been sold, and the church community now worships in a newer facility on the outskirts of Belleville. The original building is now a mosque and Islamic center. The university where I serve as president is located in Calgary, Alberta. If you take the light rail from the city center to our campus, the last building you see before you head underground is a mosque. And in Richmond, British Columbia, just south of Vancouver, you can drive along No. 5 Road and see an amazing sequence of buildings: a mosque, a Hindu temple, a Sikh temple, a Jewish learning and community center, a Buddhist temple, and a string of churches. These are merely indicators that highlight the religious pluralism of Canada. Here, Christianity is but one of many religions, perhaps the largest, but still only one of many. What does it mean to be Christian in this pluralist context? And what does leadership for the church look like in such a context? In addition to religious pluralism, there is another dynamic at play: secularization. In many respects, the growth of a secular mindset is the most significant development of the last 50 to 60 years. Secularity does not mean no religion. It means rather that religion is privatized, no longer occupying a privileged voice in the public square. It is different from secularism, that is, the assumption in the public square that the default response to any issue or concern is a secular one, whether it be political, economic, or ethical. On the one hand, this means that the state does not endorse any one religious tradition or perspective, but it also means that secularity has become the arbiter of the public square, in effect negating.